Hey everybody, this is Matt with onX, and waterfowl seasons are just around the corner. We got 2 days away from the Montana opener. I'm so excited. It's my favorite day of the year. I want to take some time, walk you through here on web app some of the features you can use for your next waterfowl scout, and just walk you through them. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is just go in and set up our layers, make sure we got everything on that's relevant for waterfowl in our map layers. I'm gonna jump into South Dakota here, and we'll go to our map layers and look at South Dakota. So we want to turn on our private lands, our government lands, the walk-ins. These are all the private programs that allow walk-in access, so make sure you turn that on. A lot of great pheasant and waterfowl opportunities there. And then for hunting units, we're going to go into layer settings and change from deer, which is the default, to let's do duck. So now we've got our duck zones, so we know which zone we have tags for, etc. Okay, so we turn those on. Let's just zoom in here. We'll just find a totally random spot. Sorry if this is anybody's go-to spot. First thing I'll do is just kind of zoom into an area where I'm going to be going and just start looking around. So we've got a cool walk-in program here. You can tap that, read more information about the walk-in program and the rules. Looks like we've got a waterfowl production area here. Those are really cool, open for hunting in the green. So I'll just start looking at all the public land, private land that's open for access, and then really just come in here and start marking the map where I'm starting to see some water. So typically they're gonna be hunting ponds for these, so I'll just come in here, grab an icon, put it on this pond. I'm gonna use yellow this year for areas I want to scout that I haven't been to yet. And then I'm gonna come in here, and for this one I'm just gonna use the water drop just to kind of mark that it looks like a pond there. So first thing I'm gonna do is save a whole bunch of those, get my area mapped out, find a whole bunch of these on the map. So then when I get out there, I can just like drive to these waypoints one after the other and start scouting and looking for birds. I don't have to deal with spots that I don't have access to. So turn on all of your public lands, all these walk-in programs, and get your hunting units set for waterfowl, and that'll get your kind of base map loaded to dive into some other stuff. So basically what I do is I just come in here and like start filling this out with waypoints and all these different spots that I'd want to scout. One of the really cool layers, let me pull it up here, close this and go to our hunt folder, is, I'll turn off some of these ones here, is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife hunt areas. And in the layer settings, this shows the boundaries for WPAs and wildlife refuges, and then which parts of them are closed or open. So I'm going to turn this on. It's really super useful for making sure these smaller WPAs here are actually open for hunting. There's some of them around the country that are closed. And if you're going to a national wildlife refuge, they often have like a sanctuary zone where it's closed for hunting and areas that are open. So when you turn this layer on, you can see all the green highlights and that these areas are actually open for hunting. Let's see if we can look around here and find a refuge that's closed. Okay, so I turned on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Refuge Unit, and I'm down in Mississippi now. And just showing you some examples down here in the south too, so you can see here's all the refuge boundaries, and you'll see here's the outline for a no hunting area. So having these on your mobile app when you're out hunting is just really useful. You can see all these boundaries. Often, you know, you're hiking through the marsh, flooded timber, you know, so there's not a lot of fences or boundary lines. So having these turned on is really gonna make your hunts a little more efficient and know right where you can hunt. So those are pretty cool. And here's another screenshot just out in California. I know there's a ton of refuges out there with the closed and open zones. So everybody in California, you can turn on this layer too and kind of see the no hunting zones. Here's for the Bear Creek Refuge. So yep, be sure to turn that layer on. The other layer I really like, let's go back to South Dakota. And let's just say we're generally hunting this area. One of the cool things you didn't want to research is just like what kind of crops are grown in this area. It's going to help you determine like feeding patterns for the birds, what kind of camo to take, what kind of blinds. If you're going to be doing layout blinds, you know, in cornfields or wheat fields, you might want to bring some different camo or stubble. And just like if you're going to be hunting water or fields, just kind of setting up your gear. So just come in here to the crop layer folder, and this is all the crops that were grown last year, right? Because we don't have the data yet for this year. They're still being grown and harvested and analyzed. But we can just kind of get a general idea of what was grown here last year. So looks like there's a lot of corn and soybean. So I guess the general concept here is there's going to be a lot of corn and soybean fields again this year. That's for this region. If we go, you know, somewhere else, let's go a little further north and west in South Dakota and just look here. You know, okay, we've got some corn, but you can see there's also a lot more wheat And I bet if I turn on grain, there's going to be some of those that pop up. Yep. And we can just see if there's any alfalfa hay fields too. So this area has a little bit more grains, and there's probably some peas. Let's turn on peas and lentils. None here. So you're going to be hunting a little bit more wheat and grain fields here, so more stubble hunting here versus corn in the other part of South Dakota. So that's just a good practice, like to know what kind of agriculture you're getting into when you're going on your hunt. Okay, there's a last layer that we've just added. It's the wetland layer. And so this analyzed wetlands throughout the country, and we've got a heat map now that show the distribution. And so you can kind of turn those on and see how it correlates with ponds, potholes, lakes, and some of this flooded river bottom here in Mississippi too. So if you just turn that on, it'll show up in a blue color, and you can just kind of pan around the map and see where like historical wetland areas have been, like where stuff is in a flood when there's water going up. So it's pretty cool to just kind of see all these blue areas and scout and see where wetlands are and where kind of the water settles as water levels rise or there's rain. So you can toggle that layer on or off here in the tree species and habitat maps, one of our new folders for your scouting this fall. So those are some of the things you can do to get your map set up. Turn on all the public land, private land, walk-in programs, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service refuge map. Those are going to give you like all the areas you could hunt, start asking permission for, and then play around with the crops and the wetland layer, and then just start marking, likely spots. I've got my scouting done for Montana in 2 days. I've marked probably 200 waypoints, and now I've got to drive 4 hours and just like get boots on the ground, go scout it all out. But I've got it all mapped out. I've got all the roads marked, all the ponds marked that are on public, that have water, so I can just like be really efficient when I'm there and skip the stuff that doesn't look good. So go ahead and do your scouting, get your map set up, and you'll be a little bit more efficient in the field.